Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, and good morning. Welcome to the Wealth Warrior broadcast. Of course, you know my name is Brent Harding, and we have our co-host who will be introduced momentarily. Now, I do want to share with you that we had every expectation of having a guest speaker on this morning. And unfortunately, there was some technical difficulty. However, we had already planned to have him on again at the end of the month. So do not fear, we will have him, although it'll be a different topic of conversation. Actually, we wanted to surprise the audience and share with you that the month of April, we are dedicating to the fellas. So that means that we're going to have guest speakers on that are going to be gentlemen, and I am so enthusiastic about that. We're expecting a music mogul to be on. We are also expecting two authors to be on at the end of this month. So it's going to be an awesome time. And we're reformatting ourselves. I am so pleased and so proud to have this young lady on as my co-host. I want to introduce everybody again to an entrepreneur extraordinaire who has two companies. She's a very busy lady. And what she has proven is this, that you are able to work that conventional job, treat that job as a customer of yours, and run your businesses. Please allow me to introduce this young lady and let her share a little bit about herself with you. None other than Pamela Stone. Miss Stone, are you there?
Yes, I am. Thank you, Ms. Brent. What a beautiful introduction. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Wealth Warriors. We're so happy to have you all here. So let me tell you all a little bit about myself. I have a company called Declutter Your Business. I help businesses with their human resources where they're needing some help on straightening out. As you and I know, the human resource is the backbone of all companies. They help them stay out of, help them preventing the legal people coming in taking the business down. So I help them with auditing. I help them do some employee relation, and I do some fun. I also help them with some fun aspects of the business. I've helped them doing some employee recognition program. You know, you got to keep that employee morale up. If you keep employee morale up and you keep the positivity in your company, then you have positive turnaround. So I help the business with that, and I also help business owners keep with their leadership. Now, on the other side, I also have a Declutter Your Life coaching business. That business focused on women, helping women find their ins into the outs to become leaders as they are in the world. Part of my Declutter Your Life, I have different topics that I focus on, which is the focus on the mind, the body, and the soul. What goes hand in hand with the Declutter Your Life, I also have a radio show that is aired weekly, and it's called Woman of Wealth. So that's what I do. And yes, as Ms. Brent said, I also do a conventional business, and I work for United Healthcare. So that's me in a nutshell. I can't wait for us to develop a bigger relationship and take this Worth Warriors to the sky. So I'm so excited to be part of this team. Thank you, Ms. Brent.
You are so welcome. You are so welcome. I know that after everybody heard all of what you had to say, they went, how does she get anything done? I mean, does she sleep or does she just stay awake 24/7? Oh my goodness. Is that because of your declutter business? You have learned to reorganize your life, and that allows you to do the many things that you do? Is that?
Absolutely. You have to be organized. And so the declutter business has definitely taught me how to be organized, how to be focused, and how to stay on track. So that's what the business has really done for me.
Wow. Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, I have to say, I am impressed. I am impressed. Now, I want to share with everyone, we are hopeful that before this broadcast ends, we will actually have our guest speaker here to talk with us about a subject matter, and that is it possible for us to have a paradigm shift? Is it possible for minority businesses to have a paradigm shift going for the balance of 2016. So what do I mean by having a paradigm shift? You know, I was looking at a news article that talked about our jobs and the fact that people, and for example, here in Massachusetts, the unemployment rate is literally below 5%. It is at 4.3%. So jobs are incredibly prevalent. And you know, jobs are in fact prevalent. People are not thinking so much about owning their own businesses. And presently, it's extraordinary for me to believe still in this year, 2016, there are less minority-owned businesses today than there were directly after Reconstruction, directly after slavery. Now, typically you would say, hey, Brent, that conversation is one that should have occurred in February. No, it's occurring right now. You know why? Because I'm choosing to have it with you. So, Pamela, what do you think about my statement that right now there are less minority-owned businesses than there were back directly after Reconstruction? What's your thought on that?
I truly do believe that, because right now there is I have to go back to is the fear. Fear plays a big role in why there's not very many minority businesses as there used to be. People are starting to see that you have to work, you have to have the challenge. And then also, let's be honest, then you also have the competitors. And so a lot of people are not having that support system or don't even know where to get the support system to help them lead themselves into the next level of becoming an entrepreneur. Me personally, if you stay focused and you develop a strong tribe behind you, you can do this. And I truly believe, as Brent is teaching me, and as well will teach me further, being an entrepreneur is the way to go. Me personally, lining someone else's pockets is not for me anymore. It's lining my own pockets. So yes, I truly believe that.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much for sharing that. We do have our guest speaker here, but I want to take just a moment to follow up on something that Pamela said. You know, here she talked about challenge, she talked about competitors. You know, Pamela, I do agree with you to a certain point. However, I'm finding something that's pretty fascinating about our job market and how it's affecting small business. And that is this, that in many instances, I'm phenomenally comfortable with where they're at. And they're saying, why should I even bother to be involved in small business? I don't want the challenge of having to I don't want the challenge of having to work at building that business. And as a result of that, their attitude has allowed them to stay comfortable, to just say, hey, you know what, status quo. Status quo. And quite frankly, that is an unfortunate. And I'm going to share with the audience, after we introduce our guest speaker, I'm going to share with the audience a conversation that I had yesterday with a prominent figure here in the Massachusetts area. And one of the things that he and I both agree with, given we are in 2016 and the timeline. So before I do that, however, I am so enthusiastic to introduce our guest speaker. You read about Mr. Frederic on our broadcast on the feed in Facebook. And I am just delighted and enthusiastic. I met this gentleman through a colleague, a mutual colleague, and he had written a book that she was sharing with me. And that book was akin to the industry, one of the industries that I am in, which is in network marketing. As most of you know, I do believe in the profession of network marketing. Mm-hmm. But what intrigued me was the title of his book, and that was that doing MLM in New England and beyond. He has been a network marketer for the past 20 years. Rather, he has had experience in the network marketing industry for 20 years. He is at the point where he's wanting and desirous of opening up a school to talk about network marketing, to raise that profession. However, the reason that I have him on today is to talk about a paradigm shift. Is there a possibility for a paradigm shift to small business ownership for the minority community? And that it doesn't matter where that community happens to be at, but is there a way for us to have a paradigm shift? Or have we just gotten so comfortable with jobs that we're not caring about small business ownership? So with that being said, please allow me the privilege and honor of introducing this gentleman who's going to tell you a little bit about himself, and then we're going to dive in. Mr. Dimitri Frederic. Are you there?
I'm there. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you okay, sir.
Okay,
Please.
great.
Wow, look at that background. I absolutely love it.
Me too. That's nice.
Thank you very much.
Please go ahead.
Actually, it was getting updated, so I had to rush back. I was out of town to get it finished in time to be here with you guys. So, actually,
Well,
great
we're honored.
topic.
Trust me,
Absolutely.
we are so honored.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
So
Thank you
by all
for.
means, you have the floor. You have the floor. Go right ahead.
Well, to tell you a little bit about myself, because this topic is actually right at home to something that I love to talk about: entrepreneurship, business ownership. Because I worked in the IT field for 20 years as well, and during those times I've actually been involved in network marketing and also started my own business. So seeing the industry, and I'm in the industry of technology, and seeing how much technology has changed in the last 20, 25 years is amazing. To the point where it's really outsourcing the world. I said today, we are living in an outsourced world, and so it's so important that, especially us as minorities, because I think we're always the last group of people to move forward and look at change. And so technology has displaced the workforce to the point where you have to start your own business. And actually, the reason why I wrote Why Entrepreneurship, What Is It All About? Because people, don't really understand. Sometimes we look at the world and the problems facing the world, and we look at, no, that's not me. That's somebody else is going through that. Whether or not, you see someone getting laid off, I call it the prison walk, where someone comes with a box and the security guards with you to give you the walk shame out the office. Someone always thinks it's not going to happen to me. Well, this day and age, it is going to happen to every one of you. And if you're anywhere between 50 years old and and then now I'm saying 40 years old, it is going to happen to you, guaranteed. It's not a matter of if, but it's when it will happen to you.
Wow, I'll tell you, that is such a true statement. Now, it kind of is a segue into a statement that came yesterday. I use the real estate industry as a barometer for where we are going, and what I mean by that is when we think about the bell curve, and we use the economic bell curve. And we use a 10-year cycle. We should realize that 2006 was the beginning of a cycle, of a 10-year cycle in real estate. And we know that there are 4 stages. We know that we have the form stage, and then we have the storm stage, and then we have the perform, and then we have the norm. And so what starts to happen is, just as we're in the norm stage, another bell curve occurs. And so right now we're in the cusp really of the completion of the form, completion of the norm, and the start of the form. Now, why do I say that? I say that because we can anticipate in the next 24 months that there's going to be one heck of a change going on, and we're going to see our industry make monumental changes. And so what I want to put out to the both of you is, what are your thoughts about that? And let me add on one other thing. In the conversation that I had with this gentleman, he said, you know what, we've got right now from now until the election to really make some serious marks, again, because we have a form stage the end of a form and, excuse me, end of a norm and the beginning of a form. So I'm going to ask Dimitri first, and then I'm going to ask Pamela if you have any questions for Dimitri relative to this. So I hope I didn't confuse you completely, Dimitri, with my whole explanation. But share with me what your thought is relative to what I just shared with you.
Sure, and I'm gonna try give my answer best to what I think the question is, because I think we're talking about the same terms, because I use the term tipping point, and I really look at the economy, the stage of entrepreneurship right now is where we're at, and I think speaking of Massachusetts, because we live in Massachusetts, for example, the change is taking place where people still feel safe and still holding on to that job security, but understanding that tipping point is right there where a lot of baby boomers retiring, and now people are starting to give them a year or two to start waking up to realizing that they're not making enough income to supplement their day-to-day lifestyle that they were accustomed to. So watching the tipping point has been something that's been a concern of mine for years. Understanding that change is taking place, and I think one of the things I did for this interview is that I actually looked up some things, because I follow the stock market. They saying get ready for economic downturn. So whether or not we as Black people are even looking at that, it's like, well, how does that relate to my 401k? Well, that's the stock market. That's where your money is being played on, and so you need to be aware of the problems facing us, but also there's some things that's happening right now to your 401ks, retirement plans, that there's laws being passed, there's governments been restricting how much you could move your money outside the country as well. So all these little changes are already been taking place, but we look at the world as, okay, because we're more reactive people as opposed to be proactive. And this is what separates us as entrepreneurs, because we take heed of the problems that are coming at us and we see the future. And I think anyone who's going to say they're an entrepreneur or maybe a business owner, they have to see the future and look at the future and say, where is this future going? And where am I in that line of the future? Am I going to be obsolete, or am I going to take chances and separate myself from the masses to protect my family and provide a legacy, anything for them?
Whoa, that was a huge hunk. And in fact, you you hit upon the stock market and the paper. I like your comment on the tipping point. Pamela, you had a question for our guest speaker. I just love that. It's so great to have you on. And by the way, young man, you are the first male for the month of April on the broadcast.
Great.
In April for the gentlemen. So I just want you to know you're leading the charge, sir.
All right,
Exactly. Exactly. So first of all, welcome to our show. It's an honor for you to be here. So let me ask you this: as a minority entrepreneur, what is some advice that what's one piece of advice? I know we can give them a lot of advice. What is one piece of advice that you could give an entrepreneur that is looking to get into the business? Or how about this? They have doubts and they're trying to get out of it. What is something that you would give? What type of advice do you give to them about that?
Well, I think you should said it right there, advice and fear. And that's one of the biggest things as far as, self-consciously. Some of us are fearful, and knowing that there's something wrong, you know that the economy is not safe, but you still lie to yourself. Then actually there's a psychological term for that, and I actually put it in my book. I can't remember the name of it right now, but I actually did a show on Voices for the Voices, and years ago, it was about 4 or 5 years ago, and I said, kill the weakness in you. And the reason I even wrote that show is because I was struggling with some things that, was preventing me, and that's that, first generation of family that's never done anything entrepreneurial. So here I am, the first generation, trying to do something different and, honing into my skills and knowledge of business and trying to break free and being out there and starting my own business. So I would say the first thing I could recommend, you got to kill the fear in you. And I even talk about it in the book where I talk about purpose. You have to define a purpose for yourself. Whether it's not for you, it's for your family. It's like, what direction? And I think today, us as a Black minority, we don't have a purpose. We don't have a family structure anymore that's in place where we say, we're going to create a family. Here's the game plan of our family, and here's the goals for the family. It's the same thing about business. you have to set those in place so you have a direction where you're going. And so you have to evaluate your life right now and say, what is it that I want, where I want to go, and is that job security is going to provide that for me? Because there's a lot of things in place, and because part of the problem too, when I talk about this fear, is that you have to control this. The biggest asset you have is your mindset, and so if you're not able to control your mindset to stay focused, because one of the reasons I say, regardless, because a lot of people are fearful of business ownership, and like even my wife per se, and I say, what, it's not about being fearful, because when I look at this book that I wrote, and I try to explain to people the first book, it's a book that's, the title says, entrepreneur has a lot of image in it. But I tell people, listen, this first book, I don't want to get you afraid of not trying to start business because you hate the word business ownership. But I said today, the definition of business ownership is not about starting our own business, creating wealth, all that stuff we're so used to, accustomed to. Today, business ownership is about survival. How do you take care of yourself? How do you change your mindset to understand how someone don't fool you and con you into believing, hey, invest your money, this and that? Because when someone has a little bit of money, a little bit of retirement, someone's going to always try to figure out how to spend your money for you as opposed to yourself. So you need to know how to invest your money properly. You need to know the direction you want to go with your life so that you're not being fooled, because there's a lot of cons, and I'm sorry to say it, out of respect to Donald Trump, but he's giving you a pie in the sky ideal of he could fix the economy. If so many presidents in the last 10, 15, 18 years haven't fixed the economy, what do you think one person is going to do it? They've created so much mess over time that it's too late, and that's one of the things people don't understand. So I wrote a lot of things to make people understand the common day issues that's facing us, because we don't look at a lot of problems as how do we solve them, or is this related to business? Like for example, I talk about teenage pregnancies and stuff like that in the book. Talking about God, all those alignments. Like how does that play into business ownership? Because guess what, job market is being geared towards the younger generation and forcing out the older generation at the same time. So all these things play a role in you overcoming your fear to say, maybe I should start something for yourself. Because one of the biggest things that's concerning to me is that
Can I bring just one? Hi, Demetria, you are on a roll, and I truly do appreciate that. I'll tell you, one of the things that for a certainty that I do feel and I see clearly is the passion. Woo-hoo! Awesome. Bear with me just one moment. It is 24 minutes past the hour, and what I do want to do is I want to invite our audience to bring other people to the show. Why do I want to do that? Because the topic is timely, the topic is powerful, and we want to make sure that everybody is hearing it, hear it live. So what I'm going to ask you to do right now is I'm going to ask you to take those fingers and go to your keyboard. And what we are going to do is we're going to draw people in. We're going to reach out to folks, and what I want you to write on that message, we're going to hit it on Twitter. And what I want you to write on that message is, join us on the Wealth Warrior broadcast now. Not later, because it's happening right now. Join us on the Wealth Warrior broadcast right now. We are on the exclusive, elusive Wealth Warrior broadcast Facebook page, and we want that audience to join us. So I'm going to do this. Your fingers are on the keyboard. On the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, we're going to do a countdown. When we hit 1, it's going to be a flash mob. Are we ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hit the enter. Flash mob! Absolutely. We want everybody to hear this, because I'm going to tell you something. This is an important topic for us. How do we create a paradigm shift in 2016? I want to go back for one moment to that bell curve, and let me hit this one more time and say, in 2006, watch the real estate industry, watch the stock market, real estate industry. 2006, we were in a form stage. In that period of time, from 2006 to 2008, we were in the form. We went from a form to a storm. Everything plummeted. With the banking industry plummeting. We, as the American public, bailed out the banking industry. We need to be bailing ourselves into financial freedom. That's why the Wealth Warriors exist. So let's go forward. 2008, we came out of, we entered into a horrific storm. 2 years, 2 to 3 years into that storm, started to come back, and we had to perform. And I will tell you, it was amazing. A year ago, I had a real estate broker on who shared with me here in Massachusetts 3 family homes selling for $750,000. That back in 2008, you were getting those houses for 350, 400,000. Appreciation significant. In certain areas, it just was outrageous. It had gone so far to the left, if you will. And so now we are at a very delicate period of time because it's 10 years later. Bell Circle, B School is about the circle, bell curves. And so now we are looking at that, the height of the norm, and we know then we are about to start to form another cycle. So when Dimitri speaks about the comfortability of people being employed, it is such a critical time for us to be considering the paper, which is the stock market, to consider real estate. It is so critical for us to also be understanding that we need those tax breaks. We need the advantages. And one of the most significant advantages is owning a business. And in this case, a home-based business serves an incredible purpose. With that being said, Pamela, you had a question for Dimitri, so go right ahead.
So Demetrius, let me ask you this. One, I'm sure our listeners want to know, how long have you been in business, and what are some of the falls that you have faced that have brought you back up?
It's been over 20 years, and I've done different aspects of business. Most of my business has been online-based businesses, and I tell people that's very important to understand that because one of the things I wrote in my MLM book is that, because it's not just for network market, but for people who own business, because I believe the merge needs to come together as well, and I think that's something that was referring to. But one of the reasons for doing that, because you have to understand how the 21st century workforce is changing too, because more can be accomplished. We're actually 2 different states right now, if I'm correct, to bring together people and resources, and it's less, cumbersome, less headaches of hiring people, office space expenses, this and that. And so the 21st century way of doing business is important, and you need to understand, because who you are and your age bracket, if you're going to start a business today, you actually will jump into one of those categories where you want to do a brick and mortar business, or if you're a younger generation, you probably want to do online-based businesses. But understand this, and it's not to deter you from doing a brick and mortar business, but know that, the cost factor is important to think about. So your decision to do so is very important. But to answer, I think the other question, some of the hurdles is, I think stubbornness, getting stuck in your own self, and thinking that and that's the most hardest thing, and especially when you talk about network marketing, it's the same philosophy about traditional business, and that's one of the things I was alluding to. When things fall apart, and it will fall apart, guaranteed at some point, are you going to be focused, understanding, and have some experience? Just like a job, you have to have some experience to get started working. You can't just start tomorrow and say, I'm going to start my own business. There's a mindset shift that needs to take place. So there's a lot of nonsense of what we've been taught and trained to believe as the right direction of life to go about. So the mistakes I've made over the years is just, my own understanding of what I think business should be about, and also not understanding the marketplace. I think a lot of mistakes, and I talk about that in my books. People don't understand the different markets that you are, the city, states that you are, maybe region if you're even doing international business. You have to understand the philosophy of that town, the city, wherever you're at. Don't just think that, well, I know business, I just did the numbers, this and that, and therefore, this is a good penetration marketplace. You have to understand the feel of the people, the mentality of the people. And I use the term the human nature factor. You have to understand what, the product and service you offer, is it in the good demographics of people, and is there really need for it? And I think one of the biggest hurdles is just want to start a business, and I watch Shark Tank. I love Shark Tank, and one of the things, the philosophy the guys and ladies ask all the time is that, is this a need or is this something that's a hobby? You have to distinguish between a hobby and a business so that you don't kill yourself trying to create something that no one wants.
Correct.
Maybe the price point itself is wrong as well.
You brought out a good point. If a person does not figure out whether it's a hobby or a business, the federal government is going to help you with that when it comes to your tax.
Absolutely.
So quickly. Guess what? This is not a business. This is a hobby, and therefore you cannot make those tax deductions for sure. Oh my goodness, you brought a very, very good point to light. I wanted to share something else. Both you and Pamela have talked about fear. And I look at fear, and the other side, I almost treat them, the parallel to fear is comfortability. Because in reality, when you own your own business, there's got to be a little bit of fear that goes along with that. You got to have some fear because you can't be comfortable. I want to share a quick story, and then I'm going to come back to Dimitri for a moment. I remember a young lady to me, which was pretty amazing. She shared with me, she says, Brent, I had an exit strategy. I only intended to be at that job for 3 years. And then I had an exit strategy, and I was going to go into my own business. She said 14 years later, she was still at the job. And so I asked her, well, what happened? And she said, every time I got ready to leave, she said there was a promotion, an increase, there was something there. Now here's what happens. After the 14 years, she said she came in one day and there was the pink slip.
Wow.
And she said, now I'm 14 years older. The market had changed. And so it wasn't as easy to find a job as she was. And then, the worst part about it is now she's forced to become an entrepreneur. And instead of her being able to figure out what she wanted to do, she had to grab what was there. And I thought that was pretty darn sad. Dimitri, what are your thoughts on something like that?
That's a powerful
statement. Watching the marketplace?
Well, I see this happen to a lot of people, and worst of all, and I wrote about this as well in my book, Entrepreneurship, and I said, government jobs is a good example of that because the comfort is so there, the bonuses are left and right, but you as good as the next person, the cheaper labor is there, your income over time, people don't look at themselves as a liability. As businesses today, corporate America, you are a liability. Here's your liability, your vacation, the years, the time you put in, into a company, and you got all these 401k benefits. And let me tell you this: people think that their 401k is being matched. Folks, it's not being matched. That's one of the perks you buy into believing that. And even going back to George W. Bush's presidency, he passed laws in place, and people don't even understand that, to help companies catch up to match people's retirements and 401ks that they so-called said they were going to do. And you have to understand that the dynamics of work is changing. And so I feel sad for a lot of these people because I've almost been there. I remember when I got out of college, I almost got trapped to that because I was in Springfield, Mass, and I had a great job. At school, make a decent amount of money to you, but you didn't have a family, you didn't have any other responsibilities, so you think that's very good money. And this is where you have to fight with yourself, and it goes back to our previous discussion in the last segment about the fear, the hunger inside of you. Which is more important? Would you rather have someone hand you a paycheck all your life, or follow your dreams and try it and go for it? And so, especially in our culture, we're not being guided or directed to start our own business. Most other families members, Caucasian families, a lot of them, they're being taught to start their own businesses. And so it's something, and because also we don't look at our skills, our talents as something that we can create businesses out of it. And that's why I say pursue your passion. I love what Malcolm Gladwell said years ago. 10,000 years, 10,000 hours or 10 years is equivalent to being an expert. So you don't say, well, when do I start a business? And, well, what have you been doing all your life? What is your passion? Is something you've been doing on the side for a long time? Well, see if you could create something out of it and put it online and see if you can create some business from it. But people get stagnant in their fears and comfort of a job security, and it wasn't meant to be like that.
Hey, you're absolutely correct. It very definitely does not have to be that way. And as I'm listening to Dimitri, there are some hashtags that are coming to mind. And when I say, ladies and gentlemen, we need to put some stuff in the feed. And one of those is hashtag we are wealth warriors. That's why we are here, because we are warriors. And warriors means that we are willing to fight for the things that we want. It's not just about us here today. It is about the generations that are behind us. The footprints that we lay right now are the footprints that will help our generation after generation after generation. Now, I realize for those in the audience, we have a diverse audience, and I am so enthusiastic because it is a diverse audience. And so at this point, yes, I am speaking to the minority community. I am speaking in part to the African American community. And I'm speaking to move us to action. Every group needs to be moved to action because it's going to take all of us. Although, and with that being said, one of the numbers when we look at the unemployment, the greatest number of unemployed, regrettably, in this country, a country that is rich as it is, are people that are African American descent. Mm-hmm. And I look at that and I say, that's an opportunity. In fact, I was looking at the SBA, on the SBA website, they have a list. If you can't figure out what it is that you want to do, what it is you're great at, then here is a novel idea. What is it that people are willing to purchase? Because sometimes it's not that you are particularly enthusiastic about an industry. Is it the customer base that is being served? Will they purchase whatever it is I'm selling? Because let's put it to you this way. The greatest hamburgers on the planet are not McDonald's, but McDonald's is selling hamburgers. So with that being with process being said, hashtag I am a wealth warrior. Hashtag I am a first generation wealth baby. Hashtag I want to make something happen. What is your passion? What is it that you want to do? Feed, because you never know. There could be somebody that wants to connect with you. They are willing to go into business with you. And guess what? Our job is to move that money within our communities. You look at statistics, and it's outrageous that the statistics are telling us that the dollars and cents are not moving within the African American community. I mean, it is somewhere, it's not even a full percentage point. And that's what will destroy a community rather than build it up. If in fact you are having fears, here's a novel idea. Coaches and mentors. Those are the individuals that are able to help you to do what is necessary for you to do. What's the difference? A mentor typically is a person that has been there, that has a background. In fact, Dimitri could be a mentor for someone. Pamela speaks about being a coach. A coach is a person that shows you the plays right now, and they are both necessities. That's how we grow. You know, Dimitri alluded to something in the day, back in the day, family members became your mentors. The older generation is who you went to. Unfortunately, we're not doing that like we used to. And so that has been a material change. Dimitri, I want you to do me a favor. Give us some hope. What kind of hope should we have about the possibility of creating a shift, a paradigm shift to business ownership and the willingness to grow businesses? Give us some hope.
Well, I tell you, the hope is, we say, starting from God, and I have to say that because I'm a spiritual person, and a lot of us don't put God into the aspect of business because God gave you all the gifts and talents in place. And one of the hardest things for me as I was young, getting into business is that everything you need to be successful by the time you're 18, 21 years old is around you. So it was frustrating. It's like all the people, all the access, all the resources, all the connections are around you, and you have to look at, where does God have a direction, purpose for my life, and where to move. The second thing is that, like I mentioned earlier, online. It's so important to teach your children and to start thinking about business, but also start thinking, okay, I don't have a skill. Okay, fine, I don't have a skill. But guess what? There's tons of things. If you Google any particular product, you could see how well does it sell for, how much is people talking about this topic or this product or this services. One of the things as an entrepreneur, I have an eye to see the future and vision of products and services. Last year, as the end of the year, where people get ready to celebrate Thanksgiving and Christmas, I looked at it because one of the biggest that I'm always looking at online businesses, because I have to always look at if right now, because I know this is going to happen to people, crazy, struggling, trying to make ends meet. Okay, where do I start? Okay, well, look at online businesses. eBay is an online business. YouTube is an online business. Most people don't even get that because we're so caught up in entertainment. We don't understand that these various things are skills. Like, okay, I have a great gift to share and even minister to people. This and that. Look at what Brent. That's an online business. But people don't look at it because we're so stuck on traditional businesses that we need to go get a job, start an office space, this and that. That's not the 21st century of doing business. And that's why it's so hard for people to understand. And so if you don't understand the right mindset already of the 21st century, how business is being done, you already setting yourself up for failure. So, like for example, eBay, eBay has a database of all, Amazon too, all the different products that are top sellers. The hoverboards. You could actually create an online account selling hoverboard. A lot of things. We are so international. You can actually buy a lot of products and sell a lot of services now internationally from China. Don't get caught up in buy American. Guess what? Nothing is made in America for years now. So get over it. And that's what And actually, Shark Tank. Kevin O'Leary, that's his favorite thing. Let's outsource it overseas, this and that. So you have to play in the big boys' world of how business is being done at the same time. So that's where that paradigm shift comes in. There's plenty of hope for online businesses, because today, people are becoming social entrepreneurs, online, blogging, all these little things that, and actually I'm working on a list for my part two of why entrepreneurship to actually help people understand that there's some basic things that you could do right now to actually participate. Go to the small business events. There's actually in Massachusetts coming April, I can't remember exactly, is it 7 or 8? There's a small business event coming up. It's right downtown Boston. Participate in that. Learn what's going on in your area, in the industries maybe you have interest in, and seeing how people are doing business. Get passionate, like Brent mentioned, get mentorship, find people who are doing the thing. And also, here's the biggest thing, get involved in marketing. I tell people, if none of this stuff works for you, you don't believe in none of this, well, find a network marketing business because there's so many different businesses in the network marketing industry that you could find something, because that's where I started from. Because when I was young, I was looking for mentorship. I was shy, quiet, and I'm still shy and quiet in some respects.
No, sir.
It's true. It is true. I am really shy. I'm a shy person.
Ladies and gentlemen, there is nothing shy about our guest speaker. I want you to know that.
I am a shy person. Honestly, that's who I am by nature. But the point is that I learned to overcome those things because of network marketing. Because I said, here's the place we can get mentorship. Guess what? The best secret, the best, the holy grail I tell you people about network marketing is personal development, because it starts with this mindset. You have to change it, and reading positive books, not reading a love story, some sexy gossip articles in the magazine. Reading personal development books that will enrich your life change you. Robert Kiyosaki is one of the best ones that people talk about if you learn in network marketing to read these books, because that's where I had to start from. And I got confident about myself, believe in myself. The biggest sell, people say, I'm not a seller. Well, I'm not a sell person too. But guess what? You have to sell yourself. If you want to date somebody, you got to sell yourself to that person too. So that's selling. So understand these things. So it's a transfer of belief that needs to take place. And so these books will help you, guide you, to get you motivated, to help you understand, where your direction should go towards. Follow your passion. If you love helping people, find a business model, whether it's network marketing or volunteering, to help you, develop things. But you have to get outside the box and use your creativity. And I think a lot of us refuse to look at our talents and gifts to start businesses, and then that's part of the problem.
I agree with you wholeheartedly on that. And to that end, I offer and share with people there is a list, the top 10 businesses that the SBA speaks about. Ironically enough, the #1 business that they advocate for is network marketing. And I know people are astonished when they hear that, but they do advocate for that particular business. Why? Because it's so cost effective to get into that business. If you are able to find, that certainly works for your benefit. And then on top of everything else, as the industry has grown up, and as it's grown up and it's matured, it understands that when you sponsor a person, you really do have to be committed to helping them grow their businesses. We now have professionals that are in the business. We've got sports figures that are in network marketing. We have doctors and lawyers and nurses, teachers. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is the #1 listed. And if you would like me to send you a copy of that, all you need to do is email me at brentswealthcommitment@gmail.com. brentswealthcommitment@gmail.com, and I will send that listing to you for certainty. Now, we are at a little bit past the quarter of the hour, and what I want to do is a couple of things. First and foremost, I want to hit Flash Mob one more time because we're not done yet. There's some more meat on this bone. So we're going to do a 3, 2, 1 on a Flash Mob. This time we're going to flash directly. How about that? So I want you to put your fingers to the keyboard, and I want you to say, switch to the Wealth Warrior channel now. Switch to the now. So we're going to do a 3, 2, 1, and we're going to do a Flash Mob for Facebook. On the count, 3, 2, 1, Flash Mob, Facebook. Dimitri, you've alluded to your book. Please tell your audience where the book can be found. First of all, name of the book again, where the book found, because I know I enjoyed it to read very, very much. You hit the industry right on the nail. So tell everybody what the name of the book is. Yes, you can actually hold the book up if you'd like so that they can see that.
This is the new
But
book
tell
I
everybody
just
about where the name of the book, where the book can be found.
Sure. It's How to Do MLM in Massachusetts and the rest of
Perfect.
New England. It can be found on Amazon or on my website at fmp.frederickcapital.com. It has all my books there. But you also can go to howtodomlm.com, howtodomlmmass.com, and actually get the book there. I'm finalizing the ebook. I'm just having some little technical issues with that, but it will be available soon as well. And like Brent said, people don't understand and don't fully value network marketing. I think being in the East Coast, we're so stuck in our education. But guess what? The rest of the world, the rest of the nation, the United States, are involved on some level with network marketing. And there's a lot of people switching because the headaches. Let me tell you a quick story. When I first got in the industry, it was just profound to see successful people that have been in businesses, careers, professional corporate America for many years, hitting top executive levels, and they are in network marketing. So it's shocking to me. But what was shocking to me most importantly is that, and I talk about in the entrepreneurship book, is that two people who are couples married, African American man and an Asian lady. They were married couple for had 7 PhDs combined between the two of them. Very successful, very educated, but they were way over their head in debt. That was an eye opener for me. I'm like, wow, 7 PhDs.
Whoa, 7? Did you say
7
7
PhDs.
Wow.
PhDs between them?
Wow.
You know, grinding it out in corporate America, and they were burnt out. And they had all the actors of success, the big houses and that, but they were knee deep in debt. That's how serious it was for them because they were following the track of what success is supposed to look like. And they got involved with one of the network marketing companies I was still in, believing in great services, and they changed their life around. They're debt free, live at home, don't have to go out and work and commit to somebody else, climbing the corporate ladder as so-called, and they are so happy now, so stress-free, and loving something they do, meeting people, traveling the world, and most of the time they can be paying for it as well. So it's so important, you know, and one of the great things of meeting Brent is about talking about network marketing. You know, it's one of those things that in this East Coast mentality, we don't quite understand it yet. We're so fearful, you know, and I say it's because we have the wrong type of people, and there has been a change in the industry. You know, this industry has been around, I think, over 60 plus years now. And so there's a lack of respect, but also there's an understanding that there's a change of professionalism that's taking place. One of the people I respect a lot is Eric Worre. You know, he said, let's become network marketing pros. Let's not just make it a hobby or a side thing. Let's transition ourselves so that we could create the income, not only to free ourselves and our family, but our legacy, the next generation, and give some other people hope that they too can do it as well too. Brad, did I lose you?
Well, let me ask. Let me jump in here and
Sure.
let me ask you this. We have talked about the getting started in a business. As I totally agree with you, it's essential. What is your take on the age? Because I hear a lot, and I'm always getting on I'm always saying you're never too old to start your own business. What is your feel for that?
I totally agree on it because here's the eye opener, you know, especially if you're network marketing. Because years ago, I had someone who was very negative to network marketing and said, "Oh, that's just a black thing, or that's just a young people thing, this and that." But until you go to a convention and you fully see all aspects of people, young and old, disabled, I've seen blind people, I've seen people all walks of life who's having success, doing different things, and looking to change their life around. They're not in a tight, you know, conservative, you know, stiff corporate environment setting. They're having fun, enjoying, meeting people all across the country. So there is no limitation. I said the limitation is your mindset. Because even Colonel Sanders, who started KFC, he was 67 years old when he was already retired. He was looking at his retirement check and say, "I got to start something for myself." So it's never too old. You're never too old to start businesses. But I say, at 18 years old, you have a more open mindedness because life has a setting way. Now all those responsibilities of life, and that's why it's so important. And I think Brent said something that was so powerful. Like that family structure is so important to have that in place so that you could venture out because you need that guidance. You know, this is why I believe in families having that father figure in the life, the mother figure in the life. But guess what? Society has making us so stressful that now we're in single family households. Everybody's too busy working 2 jobs or trying to survive to keep that one job that they have. So you don't have time to spend with your children. You don't have time to look at, okay, what is my kid's talent? What is their purpose? What is my purpose for my child's life? And so those things get to the wayside. You know, today we have social media and kids getting caught up in nonsense and destroying their life at a young age. But there's hope out there, but it's the right guidance, the right association that they need to have. And so there's even young entrepreneurships, you know, kids, you know, being chefs. You know, they have a show on TV now. You know, I just read on Facebook a young lady. She just made her first lemonade business, not the lemonade stand, where a multi-million-dollar contract with from some of the top chains out there to distribute her lemonade. I don't know if it's a syrup or juice. I haven't read the full story about her, but that's an incredible story. But guess what? It starts with the family members putting hope. One of the greatest things I'm reading Chicken Soup for the Entrepreneur sold years ago, and reading, because I was writing this section in my book at the time, and he said it right on the dot. He said, the young gentleman was telling the story, they asked the question, how did you become an entrepreneur? He said, well, you know what? My father was an entrepreneur. So I watched my father becoming an entrepreneur. See, and that's what we were talking about the struggles before. See, if you don't have no one to show you a different way of doing something to be successful, how would you go about doing it? Because you're going to be taught that go do that 9 to 5 every day. That's the only way. And it's amazing when people get into network marketing, for example, that, oh my God, there's another way. I don't have to just do the grind to create income. There's other means. Let me stop right there, because I don't want you to think that I'm trying to oversell your network marketing, because I'm not. Because I know not everything is for everybody. But understand this, for me, for example, there's Uber, there's Lyft. I'm actually doing Airbnb myself right now. So, but you have, again, open-mindedness to see the paradigm shift of how business is being done today. That, okay, because, we get to that. So I've talked to some people about, hey, why don't you try doing this and that? Well, they get to that conservative aspect of, okay, well, I don't know. It's not. Well, if you haven't get out of your comfort zone to try something different, and that's why I've embraced technology. I've embraced change, because one of the things I'm talking about being shy. Oh, I was very fearful when I was young about trying, because I came from a Haitian culture that was so conservative that doing something out of the norm is not part of who we are as a people. But you need to, because the 21st century requires that of you to make that sacrifice, because you will be obsolete. People don't understand, how do you become obsolete? Doing the same thing, doing the mundane. And that's what causes you to be obsolete. You have to adapt to change.
So true. Well, we're down to the last 4 minutes. So first of all, again, Brent and I would appreciate and thank you for joining us on the broadcast. This has been a pleasure for you joining us. And so then, as we wrap it up, do you have one last words of wisdom for our for our listeners?
I tell you, if you have always had a desire to start your own business, this is the best time to do it. The world is changing, and I guarantee you, this election, don't get caught up in all the hopes and hoopla, because you are one person in a big pool of people, millions upon billions of people in the United States or across the world. You have to make the impact to change your life first, your family first. So business ownership, folks,